Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. In case you haven't heard, YieldUp by TownNews is our fully managed programmatic solution for local media that delivers guaranteed CPMs, optimal sell-through, and ultra-fast payment. Today, Anthony Humes, Yield Manager. Anthony, give a wave and say hi.
Hey everyone.
And Ryan Tornquist, Director of New Revenue Programs. Ryan, give us a hello.
Hello.
We'll answer your most common questions and share how YieldUp is already working for our partners. The presentation will take about 30 minutes, followed by a Q&A. You can type your questions in at any time, but we'll answer them at the end. The webinar is being recorded, and the link will be shared with you along with any handouts and documentation. Ryan, Anthony, what's new with YieldUp?
All right, so I apologize for not switching the slide there, Terry. So trends, we're going to start with trends and, kind of what we saw in 2022. Admittedly, 2022 was a bit of an up and down year. The year started out pretty strong across the board and in all environments, and then started to slip in the second half of the year as some things changed and recession fears started to creep in. We saw CPM slide towards the latter part of the year, related to the economy as a whole, and I would attribute it to signal loss as well. Several privacy related changes have occurred over the last 2 years. In 2021, Apple made the ATT, the app tracking transparency change. That was really in full effect as all updates have largely been made across all devices, causing dips in referral traffic and decline in users, which impacted overall site traffic for many publications. This, coupled with recession concerns in the second half of the year, did lead to sliding CPMs and what I would label as kind of general news fatigue. We saw a string of events that were major events, led to high traffic numbers for a long period of time. And there weren't as many of those events in the latter half of last year, making it a bit more challenging to hit some of the prior year revenue numbers from a volume and traffic standpoint. And then couple that with some of the CPM challenges and challenging time to achieve some of those prior year benchmarks led to a bit of disruption in the second half of last year. Local news broadcaster and broadcast clients in particular are challenged by the fact that they get classified as news in general. When this happens, it doesn't matter what the content is for a story. It could be a lifestyles, very heartwarming story. It could be a crime story. And they can often, they do get classified in the same way from the buy side. So all those combined have led to a bit more of a challenging environment outside of onset of pandemic time than what we've typically seen. That sounds pretty bad, and it was a tough few months there. I will say that we are seeing much better trend so far to start the year, which is shocking to say considering it's January, and January is typically a challenging time. Fill rates drop, CPMs drop, you have the normal seasonal shift. This is going to sound like a bit of tooting our own horn, but the timing of our YieldUp program really couldn't have been more appropriate last year. So it was right ahead of some of these changes that occurred, and it launched in March of last year. So March of 2022 was when YieldUp launched. We do try to take a very active and forward-looking mindset as a group, and fortunately, this is one of the ones that we hit on in a big way by introducing YieldUp in March and guaranteeing CPMs through the program. So just real quick before I dive into some other items, just a recap on what YieldUp is. With YieldUp, we are fully guaranteeing CPM rates 20 days in advance of each month. Those rates are locked in regardless of outside factors such as deteriorating economic conditions or any other outside factors that may be at hand. So regardless of variable CPM performance, that is locked in and guaranteed. By guaranteeing these CPM rates, we were able to pay out clients anywhere from 2 to 3 times faster as well, compared to what we're able to do with our historical rev share agreement. So more predictable revenue, less work for our partners, faster payment turnaround times, all lead to and have led to large success for YieldUp and the increased adoption over time. And I just want to highlight a few things related to our YieldUp program before I turn it over to Anthony and have him go through some of the the methodology behind the forecasting and what we do behind the scenes, and he does in particular. But with YieldUp in play, we were able to largely offset some of the outside factors that we saw and some of the challenges that we experienced. So last year across the network, we actually saw CPMs increase year over year, which is a big accomplishment considering. So year over year increase in CPM was 7%. And then with the clients that are on our YieldUp program in 2022, we provided an additional 110,000 in payouts versus what would have been paid out on a rev share agreement. So this largely either offset or increased revenue for the YieldUp clients and those participating in the program, and increased our ability to control this to some extent and ensure that we're still maximizing yield and maximizing payouts for each of our clients, versus like a traditional rev share agreement where everything's fixed and from the standpoint of client payout and percentages, less that we can control there. So I'll turn it over to Anthony and add a little bit more along those lines later in the webinar here. But Anthony, if you can share and give a little peek behind the curtain on what we do to guarantee CPMs and how we forecast those rates.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ryan. So basically just a little bit of background on the forecasting model that we use. So it is it's a standard industry model. It's used by many large companies worth billions of dollars that are inside, the Fortune 500 companies. It can be used for revenue. It can be used for sales, for forecasting sales for those companies. Whereas we use it to forecast your CPMs. And the reason that we use this forecast is because it really handles a number of things that other forecasting models don't handle. So it handles outliers really well, which typically sometimes you can see with CPMs. You may average that 150, and then 1 month for whatever reason it may jump to 5. You may see a CPM of 5, for example, which would be classed as an outlier, and the model handles that really well. Or if there's any missing data points, for example, you move away from us and then come back to us, within a couple of months, for example, then, the model will handle those missing data points and add them in for us. And kind of the big two, last 2 bullet points, which are very big, especially for our industry, is accounting for seasonality. There is very strong seasonality basically within the year when it relates to what we do. We see very strong sort of CPMs, especially in that November, December region. And then a lot of the time we see quite a bit of a decline when it comes to January. So when we have 4 or 5 years of data, or less, especially if you're a newer customer, then the seasonality is able to go back and look and see, okay, so November, December of each year, we were trending higher, and then in January we did see that drop. And then it observes shifts in trend. So like Ryan mentioned earlier about how we had a great start to the year of 22, and then we saw a little bit of a slower end to the year. Whether that's related to recession fears or anything like that. The model is able to account for things just like that. It is able to observe any shifts that we are seeing in trend, whether that be positive, which is obviously what we want, or negative shifts in trend. It's able to account for both things. So on the next slide, this is basically how we forecast. We are able to take your historical revenue and impression data, and from that, we are able to analyze it. I should say the model is able to analyze it and basically come up with CPMs that you as a customer have achieved month to month over however many years you're with us. For example, if you've been with us 4 years and we have 4 years of CPM data, then we're able to really dig in and get pretty accurate on what your future CPMs are going to be. And like I said, this is where the seasonality comes in, where with the holiday rushes and the slower months, this is where that model is really good at looking back at those CPMs and figuring out where we are seeing dips and where we're seeing rises. But kind of what really separates us apart is no model is going to be 100%. If the model was 100% accurate, we would all be billionaires and we would not be working anything right now. We wouldn't even be on this call. But the model gives us a really good starting point of where your CPM is going to be. And from that, that's where we're able to use our industry knowledge and our expertise and go in, look at every individual domain CPM and say, okay, we should look at adjusting this because we think it's either higher or lower in certain cases. So once all of that's done, that's when we're now able to start. That's when we're now able to start pushing those CPMs out to customers so they're able to see. So for example, I'm going to be running another forecasting model. Will be early next week, and that will get pushed out to customers, and that will be what customers can expect to see for their March rates. So you are getting them basically 2 months, well, a little over a month in advance. So you're you're able to plan as a customer, you're able to plan on what you can expect to see when March comes around, for example. And this is something that we do. We don't just do it once a month, and then throw everything out. We do this a couple of times a month because we really want to assess what is happening, because the start of a month can be very different to the end of a month. So as we forecast through the month, we're able to track those trends that we're seeing throughout the month and really determine kind of where the market potentially could be going for what your CPM should be. And then kind of once all that's done, we deliver all this information to you. At the start of the month, if you're not currently with us, we do send our customers visualization slideshows. And what that shows is that shows all KPIs, or the KPIs that we believe are important to you, such as revenue numbers, impressions, viewability, and then we also track show slides. Part of the slideshow is also CPMs. So you're able to track your CPMs over a certain period of time to, so you can compare. For example, what we try to do is year over year. So you are able to compare, December of 22 to December of 21, if that is possible for you. And then as part of our transparency for this program, we also send out a rate delivery sheet, and that comes out to you on the 10th of every month. And what that's basically going to do is going to be able, with that sheet, you're going to be able to view what you can expect what your CPM will be when it comes time. So, for example, on January 10th. The rate delivery would have gone out, and that would have been for customers in February. So basically our current customers in February, they know exactly the rate that they're going to get. And like I said, when I run the model again next week, and that's sent out on the 10th of February, then customers are going to be able to know for March what their CPM is going to be, and comply accordingly for whatever they're seeing with their internal systems as far as impressions go. And then also what comes out on the 7th of every month is all of the Excel detail that powers all of the slideshow cards that I mentioned earlier. So you're going to get an Excel sheet, which basically shows you exactly what your revenue is, impressions, viewability, CPM again, but it's all in an Excel sheet. So, you can take that and analyze that however you feel like you need to analyze that. And, we've seen really strong success in this YieldUp programmatic offering. So much so that we have started to expand the YieldUp program out to video and paid recommendation offerings, which I'm going to hand back to Ryan because he's going to expand more on that.
Thanks, Anthony. So stated, slightly differently, is it accurate to say, and I'm going to throw back a question, an unplanned question to you. So we
Correct.
guarantee the CPM rates. If a partner publisher is pretty aware of what their traffic trends are going to be, while the revenue isn't fully guaranteed, if you have a percentage range of what the expected traffic is going to be able to kind of back into an impression number based on historical data, you'd have a really good sense of what the revenue generation is going to be for the next month, barring any significant shifts in expected traffic. Is that accurate to say?
Yeah, that's 100% accurate. I'm sure pretty much every customer is probably aware of roughly what they're going to be in the coming month as far as impressions, because they should have way more historical data than we've ever had, for as long as they've been a company. So
absolutely. Well, thank you for the info. Yeah, and I will. So let's talk a little bit more about the expansion of the program. So as Anthony's mentioned, we've seen a huge uptick in adoption. It's been very successful, as noted early on, that we've been able to increase client payouts through this program versus what it would have been otherwise. And due to this, we've really focused on adoption and expansion of this into other passive programs, with the goal being no work for our partners and revenue coming in that is predictable, and no resources are needing to be used from our partner side in order to generate this revenue. So one of the most successful programs that we've had for 2022 is with our premium content recommendation network. And what we're doing here is this is a lightweight widget. Typically it's at the bottom of an article page, so it's not interfering with content. It's not detracting from the content or editorial content anyways. It provides a really great user experience. The ads are much less disruptive than I would say some other recommendation solutions that are out in the market, and it takes up less real estate because it's a fixed placement on the site below the article. So this keeps the attention on the editorial content and allows other advertising to be placed as well to help generate and maximize CPMs and RPM per page view. So minimal footprint compared to other recommendation solutions. No video serves within the unit. So the reason I note that is because that is a way for the increased yield within these units, but we don't do that for the simple standpoint of it often interferes with other video that may be locally sold, and it'll disable other players, right? So due to high CPU utilization, we'll often see Chrome disable one of the players on the site. Not a great user experience, not a great impact on revenue either. So due to this, we keep it as a static placement, minimal footprint, no video, with clean ads. And then we handle everything for our partners with this. So what we do is, we do the end-to-end implementation, troubleshooting. If there is ever an ad that is not desired to be on the site, just like with our programmatic offering, we address that within a max of 2 business days, get that removed and addressed from the unit itself. And honestly, the thing here is this may be the easiest revenue solution that you could find. It's simple implementation, that's very quick turnaround. And as far as like adoption and success from this last year, a couple items of note. So what we saw across the YieldUp program, this would have launched shortly after March of 2022. We saw an increase of 700,000 in client payouts. And actually, that was just the second half of 2022 alone. So that's net to clients based on guaranteed CPMs that are generated and forecasted. Very similar approach to what we're doing with our programmatic demand stack, as far as looking at all the historical data. We're looking at site scores, site experience, sizes, geolocation, and kind of everything in between to come up with these guaranteed CPM forecasts. This leads to predictable revenue, minimal disruption, and just to kind of like show for our network as a whole. Obviously, this can vary from site to site, but it was an increase of $1.50 net RPM per page across July through December. So that's pretty significant list for something that, you know, doesn't require any work on the partner side and is an easy deployment and, you know, doesn't, I mean, really, we don't often see, you know, negative pushback or complaints or ticket issues related to this, which is one of the reasons we've really expanded the offering, rolled it into YieldUp to offer guaranteed CPMs, prevents against any downturn, as mentioned earlier, and provides more revenue and more predictability. It's kind of a win-win-win for everybody. And, you know, it's really the best, you know, truly premium passive revenue that you can find. And then we'll transition here into, you know, another solution that we do have, which is for video. And just to be clear, this is specifically our premium video offering, and it's an outstream video solution. Very similar experiences with this. Internally on our end, large success with calculating the guaranteed CPM rates. So we put into place the methodology that Anthony mentioned to generate and these guaranteed CPMs and do the forecasting. We're doing the forecasting multiple months in advance and then redoing those consistently. Full transparency, we do a forecast a quarter out. It's probably a little bit more off than once we get down to the 20 days prior, which is why we continually run those forecasts. And it's also why we guarantee the rates a month at a time across each one of these programs to ensure that we are giving accurate forecasts that lead to the most revenue for each of our partners that have these units on their sites today. But with the video solution specifically, you know, a couple things with that and why we've seen so much success. We fully comply with core web vitals to ensure a great user experience. So my experience working with a number of different solutions in the market is, you know, there can be negative impacts if it doesn't comply with core web vitals, meaning long load times, collateral negative impact to page speed. And we haven't experienced that with the solutions that we have in place. And, you know, really, we've spent a lot of time on, I would refer to it as partner optimization to ensure that we're seeing the maximum yield and revenue from the solutions that we provide and provide a great user experience with no disruption from ads. So once again, I feel like I'm on repeat, but it's, you know, looking at what can we do, what can we provide that doesn't require a lift from partners, that generates additional revenue that we can predict accurately and guarantee. So, you know, these are customizable placement options that allow for multiple iterations, high viewability, and do help to maximize yield. So just to kind of cite as far as these two in combination for any of our client sites that deploy our fully managed programmatic offering with premium recommendation units and premium video. I mean, we see outside of programmatic about an additional 380 net or more to clients, and that's payout. So, you know, adding an extra 3,800 per million page views is pretty significant, and it's one of the reasons that we've really pressed on this. That does ebb and flow due to seasonality, and our guaranteed rates fluctuate along with that seasonality. But it is a very easy way to help with revenue, offset any other declines in revenue streams that may be occurring from a locally sold standpoint or from a local market standpoint. And, you know, once again, doesn't require really any effort at all from the pub side. So I don't know, those are the kinds of items that I like to work with the best is, you know, hey, it's bringing in more money and I don't have to do a lot, or in this case, our partners don't have to do a lot. So with that, I do want to talk about just a few other things that are tied back to some of the trends that we've seen within the industry, and, you know, more so address what have we done? You know, what have we done to address the second half of 2022? Why are we seeing a reverse in trend already? And you know, what does 2023 look like overall? And, you know, what to share what we're doing to constantly work at this for our partners. So one of the things is expansion of video. We have adopted and launched a new dedicated video ad server that is scaling each day and is already having an impact on the CPM performance that we're seeing from video monetization. This is of particular importance for broadcast clients that have a bit more video inventory or significantly more video inventory, but we're seeing this help with our news clients as well to improve fill rates across all environments, but then in particular across CTV. It's led to increased activity, and we have in the pipeline expanded and planned adoption of additional supply being provided for live stream clients and growth in those areas. And that is, one of the industry trends from 2022 that it's going to continue forward. We're going to see continued expansion and adoption from users of CTV, OTT devices. People are moving to digital, cutting the cord in some instances, and whether it's on a set-top box built into the TV or on a mobile device, more and more people are watching and viewing video content, specifically for live stream content, across these different devices. And the biggest area of growth has been with CTV and with live linear. With that, we have partnered with several other technology providers to ensure that we have a solution that fits everybody's needs. So whether there is basic equipment on premise, cloud infrastructure, or the newest and best equipment and encoder, we do have a solution that will match anybody's setup and fill their need. And with that, we can still provide predictable revenue, provide guaranteed CPM rates with this, and help to grow and increase the incremental revenue that we're seeing across each of these clients. So that will continue on into next year. And we've already seen the impacts of the new dedicated video ad server and new ad decisioning platform as well. So privacy is obviously a huge industry buzzword and ongoing activity with that. New legislation came through in January. This is great for users. I would say it's had short-term negative impact for publishers with increased privacy regulations, loss of personalization. There's been more reliance on contextual ads, and then there's been increased adoption on our end of utilization of ID solutions and increase in focus on publisher provided identifiers. We do have a data lake that is growing every day. With this, we are working towards being able to identify as many users as possible to ensure that when we are delivering ads, in particular, obviously programmatic ads, that they are still generating a high CPM as we've seen in the past. So that is ongoing and ever evolving. But we've seen a lot of success with the client groups that have had these ID solutions or publisher provided signals activated. And because of this, we will continue to roll this out to our entire network and work to optimize and refine this on an ongoing basis. So along the same lines of with privacy, something that will be upcoming here towards the end of this quarter is consent management across our network. So it's needed to ensure that all of our clients are protected as well as us. So there will be future consent management requirements that we'll be introducing. And really all this is the basic consent prompts to ensure that everybody is in compliance with legislation. Also, it's needed to be able to pass some of these publisher provided signals. If a consent prompt is not detected, then we find that we can't deliver on those signals, which then impacts negatively some of the CPM performance that we're trying to grow. So that will be coming here in the near future as far as some consent management solutions. I will say that I encourage anybody that's able to look into a individual solution, but anybody that isn't able to do that or isn't interested in kind of doing that on their own, we will be rolling out a free solution across our network. So it'll be a basic consent prompt, and that'll ensure everybody's covered. Privacy is being addressed, And then also will allow us to continue to expand on the publisher provided signals so that we can improve CPMs from that standpoint. In addition to that, we've seen it. This is more across the industry, but there's been continued uptick in ad blocking on desktop in particular. So the last stat that I saw was, there's 290 million users globally that are using an ad blocking service of some sort. Due to this, we will be encouraging all of our partners to adopt a ad block detection signal, and through funding choices, this will help to recover some advertising revenue that is being blocked today. And that is first half of 2023 solution that'll be coming out. Should anybody be interested in that, definitely reach out to us and we can have an advanced conversation. But these are largely different things that we're going to be doing to ensure revenue is maintained or is growing, and then also, once again, to address privacy concerns and new legislation related to privacy. And then I would say the other key item for this year is pre-bid. We have been testing pre-bid solutions for a year and a half plus now, which sounds like a very, very long timeline, but we want to make sure that we have this right before we state that this is the go-to solution for our entire network. With that, testing has been A/B testing across different pre-bid adapters to see which one is providing better performance. Also incorporating the various ID solutions that were mentioned before to see what the impact is from that standpoint on fill rates and overall CPM performance. But that is something that we are going to be rolling out as well to clients, launching a test, expanded test here in the latter part of this quarter and the beginning of next quarter. And I have high expectations for that, actually, based on what we've seen so far with our testing. It's definitely helped to maximize filled CPM impressions for the inventory that transacts through pre-bid. Admittedly, it's lower end on the percentage of volume that runs through pre-bid and matches through that integration. However, we are seeing much better CPM performance from those solutions than what we see from some other integrations that are in place. In particular, some of the server-side solutions. With the continued improvement of pre-bid offerings that are out there in the marketplace, we have a lot of confidence that some of the things that have been concerns in the past, and one of the reasons we haven't deployed this, are no longer in play, and we've been able to either largely minimize or eliminate altogether, which is latency. There's historically been a lot of latency with client-side pre-bid solutions, meaning poor user experience, delay due to ads, and then also significant discrepancy related to that latency impact on the ad performance, meaning on the surface, it looks like CPMs are very, very strong, but then once you back into discrepancy numbers, they settle into a number that was a little bit less rewarding. We have not seen that with the testing, in particular over the last 6 months. And because of our confidence with the test results that we've seen to date, we will be introducing pre-bid. So if anybody has any questions on any of these items, please reach out, but there will be communication going out here over the next couple months as we send out our month-end reporting. We'll also be highlighting some of these items within those emails. So make sure that you take a look at the reporting emails that you receive. And then for those that are not active with any of our managed programs, in particular our YieldUp program, we'll make sure to get some marketing communication out there so that everybody's aware. And should anybody be interested, they can reach out to us for some of these new solutions that we'll make available to everybody. With that, I think I'm going to turn it back over to Cherry just briefly and see what we have for questions and take it from there.
Thank you, Ryan. That was a lot of information, you guys. I think you filled everyone's heads and there's no questions right now. So as a reminder, you can type those in, or you can reach out to Anthony and Ryan directly or to our support team. But I'm not seeing any questions. So you must have answered everything while you were covering it. You talked about trends, talked about why things happened the way they did and what we forecast. And it was a lot of really great information. So if you want to go to the next slide. we'll just do a quick wrap up, and if any questions come in, we'll take them. But oh, here's a question. Can you share which pre-bid solution you landed on? Have you landed on one yet?
I would like to take that on a one-on-one, just because we prefer to get that announcement out to everybody at the same time. So I'm going to follow up, Ken, with you directly and just make sure that we address that. But as far as that, we will have communication out in the very near future. So yes, yes and no answer. Yes, I will address it, but I'm gonna offline. No, we're not quite ready to make the marketing announcement just yet. So a bit of an advanced teaser on my part.
All right. There's lots of ways to stay connected with us. You can see our documentation at help.townnews.com. You can contact support at 1-800-293-9576 or support.townnews.com. You can share ideas, tips, tricks, get help from fellow users at community.townnews.com. It's a great place to share ideas. And make sure you're following us on social media. I don't know if everybody's seen it. We've been hinting at it, but we've got big things coming. So make sure you're on LinkedIn and following us especially. And I still don't see any other questions. So Anthony, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Nope, no, I've got nothing else to add.
Ryan, any last words you want to include?
No. Any questions, please reach out at any time. Both Anthony and I are available to address any follow-ups that you may have. If you're anything like I am, you may not have a question now, but then 15 minutes from now, it'll come to mind. So if that occurs, please follow up with us, and we'd be happy to address through email or even schedule a one-on-one to review.
Thank you everyone for your time, and we will see you at the next one. Goodbye, everyone.